So we're in a day and age that we are so lucky to be alive as filmmakers. Back in the days, we always strive to have, the budget to buy cinema cameras that record RAW formats to create your projects. But now, thanks to companies like the Atomos Ninja V, which everybody knows, this is old news, and Blackmagic for making these type of cameras to have RAW available for us. But now, my purpose for my video today is which one to choose, ProRes Raw or B-Raw, which is pretty much the most affordable ones for us to purchase, unless if you have a Arri Alexa money, which I think with the Atomos Shogun releases Arri Raw, and if you get Cinema D&G or R3D Raw, that's pretty much red. But then again, these cameras are like $30,000-$40,000. I mean, the red Komodo is a beautiful camera, by all means, and it's a great bargain, but it's not really $6,000. The body is $6,000. The buildup is like $9,000. So I would say, give or take, to have you running at $10,000 to get RAW. So you know what? We're gonna compare budget RAW here: ProRes Raw and B-Raw, and I want to see. Not which one, to see which one is better than the other, but liking. Basically, it has to do with a lot of liking. I like the way ProRes Raw handles the files more than B-Raw. I like the pure format of the file. I don't like the camera to do denoising or none of that stuff. If it came out noisy, and it is what it is. Blackmagic does debayer while it's recording, and the ProRes Raw doesn't do it. So that way, I can be honest with you guys and see which one you like better, if you like ProRes Raw or the B-Raw. So that's why I'm making this video. All right, guys, so I'm here to give my final thoughts on ProRes Raw compared to B-Raw. So starting with ProRes Raw, pretty much is image quality. Image quality is everything. It's pretty much what to expect with a prosumer camera like the A7S III paired with the Atomos Ninja V, recording at ProRes Raw HQ. I think the image quality is immaculate. It looks very filmic, very cinematic, and to be honest, it's very pleasing. I like how, the conjunction of both systems together, the results are astonishing. Honestly, I have no complaints. I think it's something that you would see like in a cinema camera level. I think this is a perfect pair for this camera, and that's pretty a big pro for me, because not just me, for everyone else, everybody wants the best out of their cameras. And I think pairing the Atomos Ninja V with the A7S III, or whichever camera that you have that provides ProRes Raw connected with the Atomos Ninja V, I think it's a win-win. The second pro for me in this camera is that it doesn't do no internal debayering. What you see is what you get. So I like to have my own choice if I want to remove noise on a image. I don't want the camera doing that decision for me, because sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But as a cinematographer or videographer, you have to make sure that your exposure is right, your white balance is correct, even if you have the leg room with ProRes Raw to be able to switch your white balance or your exposure after the fact that it's being recorded. So, but that being said, that's a personal choice. Not everybody has the same likings, but for me, I think that's a big pro. And honestly, the third and final one for me on the pro is the color grading experience. I think the results that you get out of ProRes Raw is second to none. I think it's a very enjoyable codec to work with. I love working with ProRes Raw. I love the image. Like I said, as you color grade, you just, you could be able to push it even more and more and more, take a real good advantage of the 12-bit, bit rate that it's giving you. And honestly, I think it's a win-win. I think this combination is still a bargain compared to cinema camera level. Like, to get quality like this, you are going to be spending above $5,000, $6,000 to get something nice, of quality. So now moving into my con with ProRes Raw, pretty much I have one. is that I am a DaVinci Resolve user. I know how to use all the NLEs, but my choice is DaVinci Resolve. So I had to purchase a third-party program to convert ProRes Raw to Cinema DNG, because this is pretty much the only one that it gives you. And like I said, it is the only con, but then I don't see it too much as a con if you enjoy, using DaVinci Resolve. But if you have Final Cut and you enjoy Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro, then there's no cons. But for me, that's the only con I can see, as I am a DaVinci Resolve user. I have to convert, the files to work with DaVinci Resolve. Other people might say, you could just use Final Cut and turn it into ProRes HQ 444. But honestly, I'd rather have the Camera Raw tab to be able to manipulate my white balance, my exposure, and all of that stuff. So that's why I use this third-party plugin, which I'm going to link in the description, which is the program that I use, and maybe you guys can get it, and maybe that's something that you're interested in. Now let's move on to B-Raw. So B-Raw is hands down a beautiful format. Honestly, what's not to love? So we're gonna go with the pros. To me, is the color science. Blackmagic just nailed the color science on the Pocket 6K, Pocket 4K, and the 6K Pro. I have the Pocket 6K, and honestly, I just love the image quality out of that camera. Straight out of the camera, it is very cinematic, very filmic, and it's so pleasing, the image, that it's just, there's nothing to hate. That's why to me is a big pro. Color science to me is everything. I think the closest to an Arri color science is Blackmagic's cameras. Honestly, I think the color science is second to none. I don't think there's nothing in the market closer to an Arri Alexa color science. I think Blackmagic cameras in general, not just the 6K, you have the 4Ks, the 6K and the 6K Pro. But I'm speaking, as a 6K owner, honestly, it is super amazing. The file handling is just straight, there's no flaws. Blackmagic designed the camera and DaVinci Resolve. As a DaVinci Resolve user, using those two together is just butter. Streamless, there's no choke. You don't even need a very, very strong computer to be able to run those two together, because it just natively runs super well in DaVinci Resolve. There's countless videos out there. You guys could go check that out for yourself. And now we're gonna move into my con. I have two cons with B-Raw. The first con is the file sizes are humongous. There's no doubt about that. I'm not saying that ProRes Raw's files are not humongous, but B-Raws are way more bigger. This is something that you have to invest in, hard drives and stuff like that, because I have a whole bunch of these laying out. And honestly, you need those because it's just space hungry. There's nothing else to say about that. My final con to this is that B-Raw does internal debayering. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but to me it's a con, because like I said before, with ProRes Raw, I like to have the ability to choose if I do want to take it out or not after the fact. I don't want the camera to make that decision for me. I like to make that decision myself. But I'm not saying that it is horrible. I think the debayering way how the camera works, it's pretty solid. For some, it might not be a con, for me, it's a con in the fact that I always like to have that room to give myself, I'm not saying that I can't get a bad image or a good image with with B-Raw. That's maybe not a con, and it's just me and my head twisted just thinking like that. But to me, that is the con. So that's pretty much my final thoughts on this comparison. I would like to hear what you guys have to say. Please hit me up in the comments. I'm very curious, to know how you guys think about that. If you guys like videos like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Like this video, share it to one of your friends. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. That way you're always informed every time I drop a video. So without further ado, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Take care.